They called him the Diesel.
Crank up that diesel. Let's go.
He leaned across the table and he goes, "You need to get me back there. I'll make you famous."
And to Riggins, good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.
It's Riggo the Diesel.
Welcome to Riggo the Diesel. I am the Diesel, and nowadays a lot of people think I'm the Weasel. I've lost about 20 pounds, but that's neither here nor there. I am actually John Riggins. This is Larry Michaels, voice of your Washington Redskins, of course, Perry Mattern, a.k.a. the Horn Dog. And I sadly have to say, of course, he just got his first speaking part last week. The T-Dog is not going to be with us today. He usually is over in the bullpen there, kind of waiting if we ever need anything, but I think the T-Dog, he barked a little too much over the weekend, and so
is that it?
He had to go to the emergency room yesterday, but it looks like everything's fine.
I thought it was a psychiatric ward he was headed to.
Well, I'm thinking maybe they misdiagnosed, sent him to the wrong unit. But
you have quite a lumberjack look going today.
I do a little bit, yeah. I didn't know whether to wear my Western hat, and I figured, well, coming out here to the park, if I've got a cowboy hat on, I got a feeling if I was seen by the wrong people, probably a bad idea. So I just went with the Albert DeSalvo, a.k.a. Boston Strangler.
You know, Joe Bugle once said that back in your day, and I wasn't around here at the time, that people weren't allowed to wear cowboy boots. Was that hyperbole from him?
It must have been, because that's all I had was cowboy boots.
Okay.
That's all I ever wore.
But that was you. Did anybody else wear cowboy boots? Do you recall?
I'm sure. Well, you know what's interesting, Larry? When I first got here, there was a scout. His name was Mike Allman, and he was tight with the Llamas down in El Paso. You know, and those are the boots I wear, Tony Llamas. Although it's not the same because they sold the company years ago. I think it was Justin bought them, and then somebody else.
I remember
bought
Tony
them.
Llama, that name.
Yeah, they were one of the better premier boots in the country at that time. But yeah, he used to get players' boots. So I know I remember when I first got here in '76, I must have bought about 3 or 4 pair.
Did Mosley always dress up like he does now?
How's that?
Well, he's got the Western look working all the time.
Well, he is from Texas.
He is from Texas.
Yeah, and he's got those butt cheeks packed into those really skin-tight jeans. I mean, you know, Mose, I don't know what look he's really going for. But the thing of it, and it's funny you should bring Mark up, because the greatest part of he dresses, anybody knows what I'm talking about. If you've seen Mark lately, you know, he's just everything is buttoned down. I mean, it is everything. There's no wrinkles. There's no nothing. He's picture perfect. But if you think about it, you know, this is what used to kind of make me chuckle a little bit, is I would see him before the game, and he'd be in front of the mirror, and he had the eye black on. Now, maybe to kick the ball, you need to know that. Okay, I'll give him that.
Okay.
But then he'd have gloves on and sweatbands. And I'm going, Mose, you're not supposed to touch the football with your hands. If you do, that's a bad thing. So
yeah, he had sweatbands?
And sweatbands so that his hands...
So his hands wouldn't get wet. But he was wearing gloves anyway, and he didn't touch the ball.
Well, he's not supposed to, Larry. He's a kicker. When a kicker touches the ball with his hands, don't you think that's
Garo Yepremian.
I mean, with the exception of a punter, obviously, he's got to catch the ball. But Mose was a kicker, not a punter.
Right, and also...
Yeah, exactly. Gary Yepremian. That's a classic example of a kicker touching the ball with his hands, and that's a bad... Well, actually, he just kicked it out of bounds. He knew better to touch it with his hands.
But there was I won't say who he is, but there's a tight end that played on your Super Bowl team.
Right.
All right? I'm not going to say who he is. He wore 88, but I'm not going to say who he is. And he's told me...
Sound like Wee Bubank now, because he never mentioned anybody's name either. Just, you know, number 6 or number 4 or number 23.
He's told me several times that Mark Mosley, and I've asked Mose about this, and Mose would chuck. He'll never give me a straight answer. Would put all kinds of cologne and stuff on, and he'd fix his hair all nice. And then he said, potentially, maybe a guy like 68 would grab him and throw him outside in the rain after he gotten dressed. Did you ever witness this?
Oh, well, yeah, that's what I was leading up to, and I got distracted by the gloves and the sweatbands. But really, the best part was when Mose got in front of the mirror before he went, because the socks were all pulled up just immaculate to a certain leg. I mean, I never saw it, but I'm sure he had something like a veneer caliper there measuring to make sure he had him at the right height. But the best part was to watch Mose in front of the mirror, because he'd be doing this with his hair, just, you know, getting it So I don't know, but we're football players. We wear helmets.
That's not.
But I think Mose ran around the sidelines without his helmet a lot. Like, hey.
He did that before the game. He'd fix his hair.
I think probably at halftime, but by that time I was sweating profusely, and I didn't bother to go in there to check him out. But yeah, Mose was in there.
Man, I'll tell you what, he's a special guy. And it is alumni weekend. I guess we're going to see Mosley this weekend.
We might want to avoid him if he watches this. No, we're just making fun. We're not making fun. We're having fun.
We would say this in front of Mark. We love Mark, and you will probably get a big cheer, John, on Sunday. I know how much you like hearing that from the fans.
Does that mean I don't have to do the pregame show?
Part of the pregame show, you were going to be dismissed. Yeah,
I am. I'm going to get out early. I get out of class early.
Part of the pregame show, you and another Hall of Famer who's on the pregame show, Sonny Jurgensen.
Oh, okay.
Are going to retreat to be introduced as the custom is, which is great because the Redskins proud of their Hall of Famers. There's all kinds of surprises in store.
Oh, good.
We've got a big party on Saturday night. Now, you usually stay away from that party, but it'd be great if you could come.
Oh, I'll put it in on the calendar.
And I want you to know, big news is yours truly will be on the field before the game.
You're going to be there.
I will be doing a special introduction of the alums, which really means that Cooley's going to be in charge.
I was getting ready to say, if you're down there must be cash awards. This is getting interesting.
No cash awards. But that means Cooley will be in charge because you and Sonny are going to have to leave because you're going to get...
He's going to be up in the booth by himself?
By himself, he will be in charge. That's very scary.
The Cooley and Doc pregame show? Just those two? Oh, I
Doc's
guess
on the field, too?
What am I saying? Doc's on the field, too. Wow.
Yeah, Cooley doesn't know about this.
But Doc could probably be down on the field because he's
Charlie
always there.
Broyle into the show.
That could happen.
But he could have his mic with him and be kind of pitching back and forth.
That might be a fun way for all of us to get through what will be a fantastic day. And, John, we will not let you get off the hook on your prediction in the pregame show, which is a standard now in the pregame show.
I'm out of the predicting business. Completely out of predicting business. I figured like this.
You're 6-3 this year, though.
I know.
No,
and I picked him to win every game up until Sunday.
He's 5-4.
I finally went, I'm losing my objectivity, or I should say my credibility. If I pick him every week, I'm becoming a first-class homer.
Yeah.
And that's not exactly the look I'm going for. But at the same time, I really did feel like, and first of all, let me start off with, I'll say, at the same time, it appeared, and they are worlds apart, Tampa and Atlanta, not just separated by mileage, because I really thought it was almost a carbon copy of the team that they played the week before, which I think that you can't say for sure, but it would appear teams that can put points on the board, it seems like they've struggled with. And this is the kind of where I was going to start the show with. I was going to start laughing and just go, how did they do that? How did they do that? It wasn't quite a Harry Houdini, but it was sleight of hand. How do you give up 500 yards of offense? I mean, this is really an anomaly. And the team that gains the 500 yards puts up 3 points.
I'll tell you how.
It's never been done.
I'll tell you how. Because this coaching staff has been criticized for not making adjustments. And this wasn't an in-game adjustment. This was a last-week adjustment that they said to themselves, we will not let Deshaun Jackson get behind us. We will not let Godwin get behind us. We will not let O.J. Howard get behind us. We will not let Mike Evans get behind us. And they didn't. And then their red zone defense was outstanding. Yeah. They turned them over in the red zone. So they did make an adjustment. They gave up a ton of yards. And I think, Perry, maybe they didn't factor in that Ryan Fitzpatrick was as elusive as he was. I think they were going to get him down.
Those were some incredible plays. The play that got wiped off the board with the lateral end up before it passed to Humphreys was pretty incredible. But, yeah, I mean, hey, 4 turnovers and bad kicking also plays into that a lot. But we just talked about this with Alex as well. It just – hey, it matters, those turnovers, and it wasn't like they were gifts either. I mean, it wasn't, just a bad read and a throw. I mean, really nice plays by Norman, Stroman, Anderson, and, of course, the last one as well with Smith and Kerrigan working together on that one.
Yeah, like you said, the turnovers. And I don't know, it's hard to gauge because now what their record would be, they would be 3-6. That would be Tampa. Mm-hmm. Going into it, they were 3-5, just the opposite of Washington. And you ask yourself, well, this team was putting all kinds of points up, although they were giving up a lot of points, and that's where you kind of wince a little bit, because the defense did such a great job of keeping points off the board. And there were moments where I thought that the offense had, got the ball back, but 1 touchdown and 3 field goals, and that's kind of where you go, ugh. You mean, to me, that's not a formula for success as you go forward. I mean, at some point, you would think, and the same thing happened last week for the most part against Atlanta. In other words, the offense is just behind for whatever reason.
Not scoring enough points. Not scoring, but 6-3. Yeah,
well, that's the part
of the
you
NFC East, and in fact, we're gonna get to the NFC East. But you have some business to take care of.
Oh, okay.
Here, which,
we'll take a little break here.
Yeah, and this is an exclusive.
Yes,
yeah, it is. You don't see this every day. I haven't done this in years.
This is an exclusive.
Okay, now you're not going to guess, but Riggo here. Most people give little thought about their home's plumbing until there's an emergency. Wouldn't it be great to know that all your plumbing is in good condition, that you're not wasting water? I think that's a big one, wasting water, or your hard-earned cash. The team at O'Connor Plumbing can give your home a complete plumbing checkup of all your visible piping, drains, faucets, traps, water heater, sump pump, toilets. They will check it all and at no cost for the next 30 days. No cost for the next 30 days. So get in there and call O'Connor Plumbing. Set up your no-cost appointment, 44-point home plumbing inspection, 1-833-RIGGO-44. 833-RIGGO-44. You shouldn't forget that.
All right, let's talk about our friends at Koch Industries. Helping people improve their lives is what should drive business. That's the belief at Koch Industries, which employs more than 65,000 people across America. The team at Koch works together to meet the world's changing needs in transportation, medical care, water filtration, household goods, energy-efficient building products, and everyday technologies, all while consuming fewer resources. See the innovations firsthand at kochindustries.com. And also, have you been told that you need to replace your home's heating and cooling system? Has Rocky gotten down to the heating system yet?
He's back. Rocky's back.
Ooh.
I thought me and him were simpatico, but but it's not bad. I'm going to go ahead and just live with it.
He's going on a hibernation soon, isn't he?
I'm not going to go on the all-night
We'll get to him. We'll get to him in a second. But you can get a free quote from ME Flow. ME Flow has been serving Northern Virginia since 1951. That's right, 1951. Don't get sacked. Go with the flow. Call ME Flow today at 703-250-FLOW or visit meflow.com.
Who's bored? Who's broke? And who's back?
I wanted to always see the redwoods. I wanted to see the Rocky Mountains. I wanted to see the Painted Desert, the Petrified Forest, the Grand Canyon. That was like the land that I always wanted to go to.
John Riggins.
Actually, what I want to see is the Redskins score like 6 touchdowns in a game. Offensively.
Third quarter.
Not to mention, huh?
Third quarter, too.
And get a few in the third quarter.
It's funny. You say you want to see the
Redwoods. When did they score the touchdown? Fourth quarter?
The fourth quarter, right after. It's funny. You said you want to see the Redwoods and the Rocky Mountains. You didn't say you wanted to see Philadelphia in that little soundbite there.
Yeah, not really. Is there any particular reason you mentioned Philadelphia?
Well, because it's time for the NFC East and our look at the NFC East, and Redskins 2 up in the loss column, man.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I mean, it's almost, they're really in great position. And the other part of this is, of course, this is how this league goes because they've won a ton of games. But doesn't Philadelphia have to go to New Orleans this weekend?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's this weekend, is it?
Yeah, it is. And
New
they
Orleans
still have to go to L.A. to play the Rams as well.
Cowboys
really,
in Atlanta.
It's not crazy to say the Cowboys are more of a threat now than Philly, and I wouldn't have thought that after getting beaten at home pretty handily by Tennessee last Monday, but they ran the ball well again on Sunday night and win that game against Philly. But I don't know. I don't want to get into it's easy for me. I don't play, so I could start counting. But 2 up with 7 to go and seeing the strengths of schedules, it really looks good for the Redskins.
And as you say that, Perry, at the same time, I think that the average fan probably doesn't want, it's like I always say, when you play baseball and you get on first base, you can get too big of a lead, and then you get picked off. And I think that that's kind of where most fans are as far as the optimism for the remainder of the season. They don't want to take too big a lead off of first base because they've been picked off before by this team. Yeah. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
And at the same time, what you're saying about the strength of schedule, I mean, I don't know what to believe in that. I mean, I don't know what to believe about that anymore. I mean, New England, of course, they were on the road, but they got hammered by the Texans or by the Titans. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, now you have, coming up here this weekend, you have the Texans, Houston Texans, a team that I think is, that you look at them and you go, are they for real? They're 6-3, just like Washington, right. And you don't know what kind of a game to expect. I mean, that's the one thing you have to say about this football team, the Burgundy and Gold. You really don't know, do you? I mean, I guess now there's kind of a pattern here, but then there's aberrations to this pattern as well, where the defense sometimes does. I don't want to say they don't show up, but they obviously they allow a lot of points. They've done it in 2 games, and the games are not that far apart, and it's just been not that long ago. Well, I guess the New Orleans game has been a while. What kind of an effort do you get? And really, though, when you look at to me, and I don't know that much about the Texans, but I don't really think that they have one of those overwhelming offenses at the point. They run the ball okay. I mean, what's his name? Watson, the quarterback, he's pretty much the key to their whole offense, I would believe. And then they got, J.J. Watts on defense. That's the way I kind of see him. But at the same time, this will be, I happened to overhear a little bit of Alex Smith's podcast when I came in here. I have to agree with him when he was saying that this is one of those games where I think this team, Washington, you'll find out something about yourself a little bit here, I think, because you're so far into the season. I mean, I guess it's just, you just take them one at a time. It's moment to moment, really. You can't really look like you were trying to, Perry, kind of like go down the end of the season based on the strength of schedule. I just don't think you can do that. I mean, you just don't know what you're going to get Sunday in and Sunday out, and you just, as long as they keep winning, that's got to be doing something to them in the locker room. And then, we saw that, at least I saw a little bit that, Jay Gruden had a talk with Zach Brown, and they got whatever differences ironed out that, the night before. I thought the timing of that was particularly good, the night before the game, to tweet out something about,
a lot of odd time tweets this week, a lot of oddly timed tweets. It's kind of odd. But one thing that comes to mind, as you talked about how it's week to week, I mean, Atlanta came in last week, right, and did a number on the Redskins.
Correct.
Then their next game they lose to Cleveland.
Right.
So how do you can't really, what do you take from either one of those about Atlanta? Is Atlanta that good? Is Cleveland that good? Or the Redskins just had a bad game? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know how you're finding a pattern in the Redskins. The only pattern I can see is whoever scores first Sunday is going to win. There's been no lead changes in a Redskins game this year, which is really an incredible stat that there is not. And the only time it came close was, I think, Dallas tied the game in Washington. But even other than that, there hadn't even been a tie after 0-0 in any of these games. It's pretty bizarre.
Well, I was going to say the pattern is that there's no offense. And yet they still have won 6 games. For the most part, there's no offense. There's Adrian Peterson, and I thought for the most part Tampa did a pretty good job of bottling him up. He had a couple of runs, that got, where he had probably maybe between 2 runs, he probably had close to a third of his yardage. At least I think he had a couple of runs over 10 yards, didn't he, Larry? Do you recall? I think he did.
It's not, but it's a pattern, but I don't think it's the final personality.
God, you'd hope not.
I think the defense, you know what you got, and there's been a couple times where they haven't done very well. It just seemed like they didn't show up, or their pass defense was lacking, missed assignments. We know about those. But the offense, I think you still don't, Crowder's still out, maybe this week he's back. I don't know if Perry knows or not. Chris Thompson's out. I don't know. Is he going to be back? Your offensive line, hopefully these guys can stick together and stay healthy, because now Jaron Christian's gone. And so another guy might have to slide in there if somebody else goes down. So I think the offense still is, there's a pattern. Yeah, the pattern is inconsistency, and they can't score touchdowns. But I don't know if that's the final chemistry.
Yeah, I think there's certainly a ceiling on the Redskins offense now. Not having Brandon Sheriff, Sean Laval for the rest of the year. Crowder, from what I understand, is close. You might get Trey Quinn off of IR this week as well. He's eligible, so it's just a matter of if the Redskins decide to make the move, they're going to have to cut somebody if they're going to bring him up. And Chris Thompson I don't think is as close as Crowder. I think Thompson's at least a couple of weeks. But you hope to get Trent Williams back as soon as Dallas, but probably not. You're hoping the first game he plays probably is that Monday night game in Philly. Yeah. But going the whole way back around to counting these games, obviously it's easier for us to do. We don't play. It's easy for us to count the games. But when you still have 2 games with Philly, that sure means a lot. That Monday night game should be really interesting. Trying to not get too far ahead here, but that Monday night game could be really interesting.
Yeah, I think that the deal with the offense and the lack of production, do you look around and do you see, and that's the other part of it now that as the season has progressed as far as it has, and they do have 3 of their starting linemen out right now, 2 of them for the season, one that, like you said, they'll get back. And you have to give them a lot of credit because they are in a situation where it's just whatever it takes to get a win and then hope. And that's the thing, though, that it makes me a little bit nervous and a little apprehensive about my experience, and there's obviously many ways to skin a cat, many ways to get into the playoffs. But is it a matter? I mean, is that the way? Is that the gauge here, or is that where the bar is set just to make the playoffs? Because you see a team that, to me, right now, the formula that I see is strong defense and offense doesn't make mistakes,
right?
And you become a team that takes advantage of the other teams, their miscues. Is that a formula for long-term success, like for going deep into the playoffs, or going at least get past the first round of the playoffs?
I don't know. It's that thing. I think.
Oh, Larry, I don't know if you can. You really say that? I mean, my point. I guess you can.
No, you're 100% right.
You're
You're 100% right. Throw Crowder and Chris Thompson into the equation. Let's get a couple games with them in there. Maybe it's a different story.
Well, that part I'll say. But what I want to say is that I think the team deserves a heck of a lot of credit for hanging in there with all the injuries that they've had to their offensive line, because obviously that was the strength of that side of the football, was the line. And now you've really, it's been shaken to its core, and yet they're game. They're coming out and they're doing what they have to do. They get as many points as they can get, and the defense so far, and that's the way it works sometimes. Sometimes one unit's got to bail the other one out on a little bit, and it gets a little bit old, but that's the way it seems to me.
All right, everybody,
take a little break?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Everybody's playing to get to the big game. It's the ultimate goal, the game of games, the hottest ticket in town. It's the Virginia Lottery's Win-A-Spin live show. 8 lucky winners of the Win-A-Spin Scratcher will get the chance to spin the big prize wheel to win a guaranteed $100,000 to $500,000, and they'll get to do it live at Virginia Lottery headquarters. So if you want to get to the big game, the big wheel live show, here's what you have to do. Scratch the Win-A-Spin Scratcher to find a spin code that you'll enter online. If your online code reveals a big wheel message, you've made it. You're going to the lottery headquarters to spin the big wheel in front of a live audience on Facebook. Oh, and you're also spinning the wheel to win a guaranteed prize of $100,000 to $500,000. So if you want the glory, you have to get off the bench, get your touchdown dance ready, and visit your local lottery retailer and ask for the Win-A-Spin Scratcher today. Top prize odds in Win-A-Spin are 1 in 918,000.
John, when he walked, he had a little bop to him. And besides that, he had the booty out there. They nicknamed him Chocolate Chip.
Story time with Riggo.
All right, it is story time. I never get tired of hearing Joe say that for whatever reason. I don't know why. It takes me back to the good old days when I was up there with the New York Jets and we weren't winning a damn thing. But we were having a lot of fun.
Yeah, I bet you were.
We had a lot of fun off the field.
That hasn't changed yet.
Where'd you live?
No, they haven't.
Where'd you live when you played for the Jets?
I lived in a couple different places. I lived in, what do you call it? My first year up there, I lived out in Long Beach. So anyway.
Did you have a long commute?
Where's that?
Well,
no, we'd get on, what was it, the F train. I think we'd
take the train to practice.
Out to Shea Stadium, yeah. And then
really?
And then somewhere we'd get on the 7 train, and that's a Flushing Meadow line, takes you straight out to practice.
Could you imagine Sam Darnold getting on the F train now?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Well, my roommate had when the first year though, I'm trying to think. No, we took the train more often than not, but he had a Porsche, and I had my truck up there that year, but I had my parents drive it back, so. Yeah, that's the way we got to. And like I said, the last year I lived in a place called Point Lookout, which is not very far from Long Beach, which was just real close to Hempstead. Anyway, you know what? It's kind of interesting that there's been quite a bit of this kicked around in the last couple of days regarding some comments made by a couple of the teammates, Norman and Swearinger, as far as the fans and, their, I guess, almost kind of a little bit of what I want to say, a little bit of a critique of Washington's fans. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going, guys, I don't know if you know this or not, but and I'm sure you do. You're smart enough to know this, but maybe your skin's just a little too thin or whatever. But isn't the fan the boss? The fans are, that they're the ones that are paying everybody's check. I mean, technically it comes through the team, but without the fans and their support of the league and everything, you do not. That's the boss. The fans are the boss, and there's always that old saying, "The customer is always right," and I see them as the customers. And I guess where I'm going with this, and I remember years ago, Don Maynard, the Hall of Fame wide receiver for the Jets. Don, I remember we were doing a little deal the day after a game someplace, and of course the Jets in New York. And the record back then in, 70, what would have been 70, probably my rookie year, we were losing more than we were winning, and we got booed regularly at Shea Stadium. Me, I didn't. Hey, knock yourself out. You paid for it, We're doing the best we can. I'm doing the best I can. But Don said a fan should never boo. I do not. And I thought, Don, I kind of see your point maybe, but I really don't, because this is a results-oriented business that, you know, if you're not, and also that, you know, it's like art in a way, if you will. Don't you have the right, I mean, maybe you could say it's bad manners or poor sportsmanship, what do you want to say, but I can't see where you want to go around telling the customer that, hey, this is how you're expected to act. The players dictating back to the customers. It kind of tickles me a little bit. It actually is laughable when I think of that, you know, somebody like Josh Norman, he's going to make about, what, $13 or $14 million this year, somewhere, something like that. And yet what the fans do at the stadium bothers him. I mean, to me, and Swearinger, he's going to make about $4 million. Same thing. It's kind of like, guys, seriously, guys, there's people with some serious problems out there. You would seem to be the most insulated people in the world, and you somehow feeling somehow, you know, whatever, belittled or not getting your due, that the fans aren't 100% behind you or doing everything you, I don't know, what are you going to do, write them a script and say this is what you guys need to do? And personally, I'm thinking that this gets into mental toughness. Your focus should be on the game and what's going on out there. Do you need that? I mean, you know, start taking amphetamines if you need something to get you up. If the game itself ain't enough.
Well, don't do that. Don't do that in case you get suspended. But yes.
Yeah, well, my point is,
I know
that, and I said that in jest, really, that, you know, tongue in cheek, that I can't. I mean, to me, I'm going, isn't it enough to be focused out there on what you're doing, what the fans do? Let them do what they do. It's, I don't know. I mean, I find it odd.
You're the former player. I just put myself in the fan category because I've never come close to doing football. But you know what? Fans want to win. Right. Every week I want to see the Redskins win. When the Redskins win, things are great. When they don't win, things aren't so great. And you're looking ahead to the next game to get that next win. And so I forget what was it, George Allen? Might have been George Allen who said, when you lose, you die a little.
Losing's like dying.
Losing's like dying.
For him, that should have been true, because he's the guy in charge of the wins and the losses. For the players, what they get paid to do is defined by the playbook, not the outcome. So,
but again, for a fan, though, for me, the fan, I subscribe to George Allen, because when this team loses, I don't feel good about it. When they win, I mean, Perry knows. We work here. It's night and day. You come in after a win, it's beautiful. Loss, it's gloomy, even though it's been kind of gloomy every day this week anyway, because of the rain. It's ruining your yard, and Rocky's back, and I know you're going through a whole bunch of stuff at home. But anyway, just win. Just win. If you win, and what do you have control over?
Yeah, and
what do you as the player have control over?
Yeah, exactly.
Your job.
That's exactly right.
You know, that's all you can do. So,
well, I agree with you, Larry.
Trying to be logical about this, John, and I know that I was almost going to say it during Alex's podcast, but I remember 2 home games ago. I believe it was the Dallas Cowboys in town. 2 home games ago.
Yeah.
Because you lost to Atlanta.
Dallas was the one before that, yeah.
I can recall the end of that game being very loud in favor of the Redskins.
Mm-hmm. So loudest, Preston Smith's touchdown. The Ryan Kerrigan forced fumble, Preston Smith touchdown. That's the loudest I've heard it this year. It was really.
And it came across on the TV that way, too.
Yeah.
And you can see the animation and the fans in the stadium.
So
they're still there. I mean, that's just it. And you know.
They're going to cheer for you on Sunday. I know that. They're going to cheer for you.
You know what? I'm going to join in. I'm going to go. Listen, if I don't get the loudest ovation on Sunday, there's going to be some hell.
You coming out in full battle regalia again?
No, that won't.
That was a one-off.
I can't get into full battle regalia.
That was a one-off. Yeah, all right, back with the final word after this.
Who sat here? Your student? A peer? Your best friend? What did they grow up to be? A scientist? A nurse? An entertainer? Did you know it back then that they were made to stand out? Celebrate the extraordinary people made in Virginia Public Schools. Nominate a public school graduate for the Virginia Lottery's Made in Virginia Award. Details at madeinvirginia.com. Deadline October 12th. The Virginia Lottery, $9 billion to education, 30 years of fun.
If you have atrial fibrillation, you know it can be difficult to treat successfully. Innova Heart and Vascular Institute in Fairfax is a leader in AFib treatment using specialized technology and expertise. This helps to more precisely target and treat rhythm irregularities that others could miss, helping to restore your heartbeat to normal. Give your heart the benefit of care. Visit InnovaHeart.org/AFib to learn more and to find an Innova physician. Innova. Join the future of health.
All right, when we started the podcast today, it was how did they do that? How did they do that down in Tampa, giving up that many yards and still coming out with a win and holding the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to 3 points. Now this week, once again, it seems like every week it comes around this way, but you keep waiting. I mean, I don't think it's. We were talking, during the podcast how there's really no. Is there an identity? Is there a formula? There seems to be kind of. It seems like the defense is the stronger of the two units. And Larry, what you said, for now, you keep waiting to, as they say, to have the other shoe drop. And I'm wondering, is this the weekend it finally happens? Does the offense show up and actually take control and put some points on the board and let the defense get after the Texans and, keep them from putting, all the yards plus keep the points off the board? But ultimately, however they do it, it's just really a matter of, just, I guess we have to quote Al Davis, just win, baby.
Yeah.
Just keep it going.
Come to the party Saturday night, okay?
All right. I'll see what I can do.
Food and beverage available.
Where is it, though?
It's at the Gaylord. Yeah, I know. At least I know we'll see you Sunday.
All right. If nothing else.